Hi everybody, my name is Aaron Mitchell. In the beginning of March of 2024, I began the Camino Mozárabe in Almería, Spain. I only had time to walk from the city of Almería in southeastern Spain to Granada. The Camino Mozárabe is just one route taken by peregrinos, or pilgrims, who want to walk through the cities and countryside of the Iberian Peninsula on their way to the city of Santiago de Compostela in the northwestern corner of Spain. In this video, I will show you my experience walking between the cities of Calahorra and Granada. It was cold and cloudy when I left La Calahorra, but not raining yet. Soon after leaving the town, it began to mist lightly, and then it started to rain. I must admit that I don't remember too much about the trail or terrain of this day, since I pretty much kept my head down and my feet moving through the often heavy rain and gusty wind. I paid the price for not having good rain gear, and it soured my mood. It was a flat walk on mostly dirt roads to the town of Alquife, a scheduled end of stage according to the association. I remember walking past mining operations and a livestock facility. Then I remember walking down into a ravine, and then up the other side into the pueblo of Jerez de Marquesado. I remember it all being very beautiful, but I made little effort to document it on film. Leaving Jerez de Marquesado, I walked into the forested mountains again before passing a lake that, on a sunny day, would have been picturesque. Then I walked along farm roads until reaching the pueblo of Cogollos de Guadix, where I took some shelter from the rain and wind in a cafe for a while. Reluctantly, I left the cafe and walked on dirt trails for about 10 kilometers until they turned into the wet paved roads that led into the city of Guadix. There is no albergue maintained by the association in Guadix, so I stayed in a hostel. I was wet, tired, and hungry, and that negatively influenced my opinion of Guadix and the hostel. Guadix to La Peza is a 22-kilometer stage. The sun rose in Guadix and I felt pretty good walking around the ancient city for a while. Some of the negativity I felt toward the city melted away as I followed the arrows through downtown, past the impressive cathedral, and out into the countryside. The trail led along dirt paths that led up into the forested mountains, and then down into the pueblo of Purunella. By the time I got to Purunella, I had to put on my free poncho to protect me from the rain. Then the trail led into a valley and up the other side to Marchal. The paved road keeps going up through the towns of Los Baños de Graena and Graena. After Graena, the arrows lead you off the road and onto a dirt path. You walk along the dirt path for a while till you find yourself back on the paved road that leads to La Peza. This is a beautiful walk along the road, and just before you get to La Peza, you leave the road to the right and take a dirt path into the pueblo. The albergue in La Peza is maintained by the association, and we were comfortably hosted by una hospitalera. The stage between La Peza to Quéntar is 27.5 kilometers. There is an option to cut it in half by walking to Tocón. Unlike the other stages, there are no pueblos and no services on the stage unless you take the option to Tocón. This stage was the most beautiful stage in my opinion. Certainly the sunny warm weather improved my outlook, but it was also on this stage that the trail reached its highest altitude. The 2 days of rain left the peaks of the Sierra Nevadas covered in bright white snow. Leaving La Peza, you can either follow the arrows along a trail just off the road, or not follow the arrows like I did and just walk along the road. I walked on the road for 11 kilometers and maybe saw 10 cars total.
Alright, so here's where I have to make a decision. Either follow on to Quéntar, that direction, 15 kilometers, or go with the Camino, which goes to a high spot. The high spot of this trail. Off-road, however. Oh, it looks like good road right here, though. So, I think I'm gonna go off-road and follow Camino and get off this road, which doesn't have a lot of traffic on it. Would be definitely easy walking, maybe even shorter. But I think I'm gonna follow Camino.
I was afraid that the recent rains might have made the mountain pass muddy, but that was not the case. It was on this stage that I found what I hoped to find on the Camino Mozárabe. Not only did the warmth and sun melt my cold Alaskan soul, but I also found myself completely alone in nature. The other peregrinos whom I was with in the albergue in La Peza, for one reason or another, did not join me on the trail through the mountains. At one point, I ran into a shepherd with his dogs and his sheep. The sheep grazed and moved slowly along the hill. The dogs were probably monitoring the sheep, but seemed more interested in a couple of bones that lie between their paws. And the shepherd, he acted as if patiently enduring my broken Spanish ball talk was the most important thing that he had to do that day. After 10 kilometers of off-road hiking, you'll reach the highest point on this Camino from Almería to Granada. Immediately, the trail begins to descend steeply, first along a rough path that turns into a nice dirt road. And then a paved road that eventually takes you into the pueblo Quéntar. The association recommended lodging in Quéntar is an hospedería. I'm not sure what that means, but it is the only place where I stayed with people other than peregrinos. It was 15 euros a night and did not include food. However, I had complete access to the kitchen, and there were travelers from all over Europe and Latin America with stories and songs to share. In fact, this fellow traveler from the Netherlands could not have found a more fitting tribute for the stage of the Camino.
I'm gonna spend it with you. Such a perfect day, you just keep me hanging on. Keep me hanging on.
And with that song in my heart and a good night's sleep, I was ready for the last stage of my Camino, Quéntar to Granada. You walk along a road and path by a river for 2.5 kilometers until the town of Dudar. Then you take a steep dirt road that leads to the top of a mountain. The path offers beautiful views as it follows a ridgeline for a couple of kilometers. At about 7 kilometers into the walk, you start to go down the mountain and toward the fabled city of Granada. As you approach the city, you walk through olive orchards and along a river until you come to a road. At 14.5 kilometers, you arrive at an intersection with arrows pointing in 2 different directions. If you go to the right, you walk steeply uphill to the Abbey of Sacramonte. There are some great views of the Alhambra and Old Town Granada from the Abbey. The Abbey is a museum that offers tours. There is also a coffee and snack machine, and the employee will stamp your credenciale. To continue to the Camino to Granada, you descend the same road that you took to get to the Abbey and follow the arrows into town. This is all downhill on paved roads. About the time you get to the turnoff to the Abbey, you will start to notice all of the tourists. You probably haven't seen any tourists since Almería, but now they are everywhere. The albergue in Granada is an old monastery. It is actually pretty neat, but difficult to find without digital assistance. You ring the door and wait for a friendly monk to let you in and show you around. There's a lot of content online, in tour guides, and on podcasts about Granada, so I don't feel I need to add my recommendations here, other than to say that Granada would make an ideal place for a rest day. There is so much to see that a few tired hours on an afternoon isn't enough. Unless you have toured Granada before, do yourself a favor. Take an extra day to explore this gem in southern Spain. This was my first Camino experience, and it didn't disappoint. The cities, pueblos, landscapes, and people were incredible and inspiring. I would specifically like to thank the Asociación Jacobea de Almería a Granada for the information, for maintaining the trails and albergues, and for organizing hospitaleros where possible. As soon as it is logistically possible, I plan to return to Granada and resume my Camino to the city of Córdoba or beyond. Until then, buen camino, peregrinos.